Stiff Records. Jake Riviera and Dave Robinson started in '76. It was a label, British label, indie label that started in England, lasted about 10 years before, it kind of came back together again in later years. And I'm going to showcase some of my stiff collection. Mazzy's, Stiffies, as they say. Talk about a clickbait headline, right? Title for a VC, vinyl community. In the background, Lena Lovitch. I'll get into that. I'm going to showcase some of my singles. Tell you a little bit about a label. You can read up at it anywhere else you want. They had a lot of different incarnations and different distribution deals in the US and in the UK. First, totally independent. Their first single was Nick Lowe, So It Goes. And they kind of started out, in fact, I'm going to give you a little background history here. These are not on Stiff, but they started out sort of as a pub rock label. And if you know pub rock, probably the most quintessential pub rock band was Brinsley Schwarz. One member in particular, Nick Lowe, was in Brinsley Schwarz, and Ian Gaume, Brinsley Schwarz, Bob Andrews, and Billy Rankin, and the rhythm guitar player, who was a great guitar player in terms of one of the best UK rhythms at the time, was Ian Gaume. This was his first solo album. This is not on Stiff, but it's important in the overall story of Stiff. Obviously, Nick Lowe, who was basically the first signing or the first release, So It Goes, on Stiff Records. And Stiff started as a pub label, and then just kind of caught up in '76, '77 to the whole new wave punk scene that came out. So they really had a wide variety of kind of bizarre artists when you think about it. I'm going to go through some of my singles here. Today's Sound, Today, Stiff Records. Nick Lowe, I Don't Want the Night to End. From his first album was called Pure Pop from Now People in America, Jesus of Cool in the UK, and here you go, an EP with Mary Provost, Endless Sleep, Bored a Woman, and Shake That Rap. Nick Lowe's one of my favorite pure pop artists, power pop artists. Again, not in any order, Stiff Records, Halfway to Paradise, and I Don't Want the Night to End. Now, Stiff kind of got limp the next year, and the two owners of the label split up somewhat, and Riviera formed Radar Records, and he actually took with him Nick Lowe and Elvis Costello, who was also an original Stiffy, as they say. So some of these singles are from Radar Records as well, not only Stiff. Two more Nick Lowe's. Cruel to Be Kind. What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding. What a great song. You probably know the Elvis Costello song version more than the Nick Lowe version. American Squirm was, I think, the A-side actually on this, which is pretty interesting. But these are just great records, and I love the labels. Look, this is a Radar record label. So they all have their DNA. They got picked up to distribution by the majors in the UK. Ireland picked up Stiff, and in the US, Columbia picked up Stiff. Everybody wanted to get Stiff in 1977. So, cracking up, another Radar record. Bum, 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 bum. And this is kind of a fun record that Nick Lowe put out. This is a Dutch pressing, so it's actually not on either of these labels, but it's connected. It's on UA. and it's an EP, and by this sort of band Tartan Horde, which is a creation with Nick Lowe. And the song that got claim to fame was Bay City Rollers, We Love You. Look at that. And I did see a 4 o'clock matinee of the Bay City Rollers at their peak. I was looking in the record business and got tickets. So it was kind of like my buddy and I think a handful of record people, and, 4,000, 3,000 screaming girls wearing plaid skirts. They certainly had their moment, didn't they? Okay, Elvis Costello. You all know Elvis. And here we go. Mystery Dance and Pay It Back. They were doing colored vinyl back there in the 70s. But I love that stiff logo. There's so many innuendos with this record company that, that should be a contest on its own. In fact, maybe I should have done a contest. Except my contests aren't doing very well these days. But it would have been cool for me to ask you to come up with a new byline for Stiff Records. If you want to put it on the bottom, subscribe and add your comment. Doesn't mean you're going to win anything. God, what an angry young man. Remember they called him the angry young man at the time, Elvis? He looked so serious and so intense, but he came out of nowhere. Actually, I saw his very, very first show in America. He was, KSAN Radio in San Francisco broke Elvis Costello, his first album, and he played the old Waldorf, and that must have been 76, 77, probably 77. So Watching the Detectives and Blame It on Kane and Mystery Dance. So another EP. Unlike the Americans, you only got 2 songs. Sometimes you got more songs in the UK. And I'll just go through. Angel's Gonna Wear My Red Shoes. Oh, there we go. Today's Sound. Today, Stiff Records. Radar Records, Elvis Costello, Pump Me Up, Big Tears. God, good stuff, huh? Nick Lowe produced most of the early Elvis songs as well. Okay, this is who we're listening to now. This is some studio and live tracks from Lena Lovitch. You probably know she had Lucky Number. That was kind of her hit, big FM hit at the time. This is an EP, double EP with live tracks on Stiff Records. And what's on here? Let's look. Joan, produced by Lena Lovitch, Les Chappell, and Roger Vakarian and Alan Whistler. What Will I Do Without You? Anyway, it's a double package with a gatefold, which you don't see in 45s a lot. Kind of fun stuff. And I don't have their album. I'm not sure if they had an album actually on Stiff, but they certainly had her 45. Madness. They got into the whole reggae ska thing too. In fact, that first single I showed you was a big hit for them, but it was a reissue of, in fact, now I can't find it, but it was a reissue of Desmond Decker's The Israelites. And that was an issue on Stiff Records too, so maybe it'll show up here. Here it is. The Israelites, Desmond Decker. Probably the first knowingly reggae song that I ever heard. And this was a reissue of it in 1980. But cool, like outer sleeve for the label. Stiff, sort of a semi-generic stiffy, as they say. Okay, another interesting artist. Is this the one? Yeah. One of the biggest hits on Stiff is Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick, Ian Dury and the Blockheads. And this was distributed in the U.S. by Columbia Records. I think this is, yeah, Columbia Records. This is the American issue when they got signed here. I'll show you the album in a little bit, and that's actually their original UK. And their first, they signed the first Devo in the UK. So Satisfaction, the original, was on Stiff Records. And you all know Devo, right? Of course you do. Remember listening to that version of Satisfaction when it first came out? I mean, I remember that so vividly, and it was so different. I mean, to me, I'm a firm believer, if you're going to cover a song, make it yours. And Devo certainly made Satisfaction theirs. A couple other songs, singles. Reckless Eric, who's still playing around. What a great picture sleeve on this, right? Reckless Eric was kind of a kooky personality and still playing around. And all these artists I saw when they came through the first time around, first or second time, late 70s. I'd go see them. They play clubs in San Francisco. I saw Devo at the Mabuhay, the Fab Mab, a famous punk club. Saw all these acts at the Old Waldorf, a club that Bill Graham eventually started managing and booking. But there's your Reckless Eric. You know, the pub rock stuff continued with them. Another one is Jonah Louie. Great picture sleeves, right? Can't even describe his music. But one of my favorite labels anyway. These Stiff Records labels were amazing. So that's pretty much the 45s. Now I'm going to just show you, not a definitive again. I don't do definitive here. But some of the, mostly my UK, a couple American Columbia issues. But my original Stiff copy, which is one of my prized possessions in the punk movement here, the first Damned album. Original, 1970, what is it, 76, 77? Look at that label. What a great cover. You all know this record, all you punksters out there. Punksters, new wavers. But made to be played loud at low volume. Damn, damn, damned. I guess they can have their cake and eat it too there, huh? Another artist, they also got in the retro thing, Rachel Sweet. Original Stiff UK, American Stiff. I don't know if American Stiffs are different than UK Stiffs all the time. That's a very personal question, so I don't think I should answer that, but maybe one of you can answer that. But she was almost like this, I think she was like 16, 17 when they signed her. And she did this kind of retro, like the song Baby, B-A-B-Y, Baby. She had a very kind of, almost like the teenage, look at this. I mean, ugh. You know, young girl doing rock and roll covers, kind of 50s, early 60s retro sound. But get on Stiff Records. File under Stiff, it says. Okay, there you go. Produced by Martin Rushett. Again, you know, they had their whole like in-house shtick there. And probably one of their biggest records in the UK, Ian Dury. New Boots and Panties. Again, my original UK Stiff copy in pristine condition. New Boots and Panties. Good stuff. I mean, he came out of nowhere, it seemed. I mean, I remember this huge, being in San Francisco, you know, and places like LA, New York, probably the cities initially, the bigger cities, got this surge of this type of music. And the Stiff, there was a Stiff tour, probably a lot of Stiff tours. There was a Stiff tour, and I would see any of these acts anytime they came around it. It's kind of like, you know, there's certain labels you kind of follow no matter what they put out for a while, and Stiff was certainly one of them. I did, unfortunately, when I did my 90s purge, got rid of a few, which I regret totally. Jonah Louie's album, I got rid of. I think there's a couple others, but I'm glad I kept these, but I just love that cover. Very good stuff, as they say. And then Nick Lowe, again, we're coming full circle here. You know, So It Goes was the first release. This was the first album, Pure Pop for Now People. Oh, there we go. That's my mistake, but that's also not untrue. Jesus of Cool was the original name of the album, and they had different pictures here. But of course, in America, Jesus of Cool, you know, I don't even want to comment on the Americans and the reactions and things. So they renamed it Pure Pop for Now People, which is still a great title. But I just love this record. Probably one of the best ever. Again, Radar, I forgot. Remember when Riviera broke off with his partner Robinson and started Radar Records with Elvis and Nick? Well, there you go. I still kind of keep them together, you know. I mean, it's in the family, as they say. So I'm not gonna just make this record VC presentation all stiff. I want to, you know, loosen up a little bit. Radar Love, Labor of Lust, his second album, and that's again. This is on Radar UK copy. Lena Lovitch. Okay, this is the American, I believe. Yeah, this is a Sony, or excuse me, Columbia Stiff of her second album. Oh, Stiff Epic. Look at that. I would say, you know, some of you VC have showed labels a lot. I think someone even had a label contest at one point, which I did not enter. But I'd say Stiff is one of my favorite labels, and not just for the obvious, you know, puns you can make with it. You know, it's a hard label not to like, as I say. New Toy. This is a 12-inch single of New Toy. Savages. Anyway, Savages, Special Star, Never Neverland, Caps Away and Details. Again, Stiff Epic. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. It's hard not to like this stuff. And coming full circle, the man that started it all for me in terms of my first experience with Stiff was Elvis Costello. Again, as I said, saw his first tour. When I heard this, it was like nothing else at the time. Now it probably seems pretty tame, but especially this album. Welcome to the Working Week, Miracle Man, Allison. I mean, that's sort of the ballad there, but the love song. But Lesson Zero, Waiting for the End of the World, and that beautiful purple cover, purple pink backing. I think they had several different choices of the backing, and the US, I think, was a plain white. But again, this album really kind of changed, shook up radio at the time, shook up the music industry. You know, it wasn't a huge seller. Elvis really was not a top 10 singles artist. I mean, he had radio-friendly airplay on FM, but I think it took a while for him to catch on to a lot of people because he was so out there. And if you remember that Saturday Night Live, that first appearance was so great. And then, of course, this year's Model. Again, Stiff, Radar, Big Beat, all kind of related. But anyway, that's Mazzy's Morning Stiffness here on the VC. Thank you. Check this stuff out. Brinsley Schwartz, again, not Stiff, but Pub Rock. Need to check out that whole clique with Dave Edmunds and you know, even Rockpile later with Nick Lowe, Dave Edmunds, and the like. But anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I want to get over 300 now, so tell your friends and your family and anyone over the age of 18. Thank you. Bye. Love you. Mazzy out. Mazzy loves you.